brother Katie Matthews. What's up, Katie?
Hola, 34.
All
Keep
right, before
practicing. I keep
there you go.
practicing.
It does sound more fluid. Before we get started here, got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Ray Allen Manufacturing. They've been making dog equipment, like they say, before there were dogs or some or dog trainers or something like that. They have everything from A to Z, no matter if you're in the working dog world, the pet dog world, you name it, they have it. You can always check out rayallen.com /K9SL and use the Primal 10 all caps code for a discount. So make sure you check them out. So now that we got that out of the way, Katie, let's get down to business. How was last week? Or how has it been since the last time I talked to you?
The huge. Kind of sort of the huge. Um I have some lovely organic conversation for you today.
Nice.
Right. Now, people need to understand though, like when we do this, we don't have like bullet points, agendas, like we don't have any of that. We truly are winging it conversationally every single time.
This is true. I actually will purposely not like because I remember before when I used to call you like, beforehand or anything like that, like when we did the green room stuff, and we would literally have some of the best conversations offline. So like, even like this one right now, or like G set it up, and I literally hopped on. I was like, "All right, you ready to go? Ready to go?" And Kay's like, "Yeah." It's like, this way we don't burn through like the conversation topics like before we even start recording.
I know. And the whole point is for it to be as organic as possible. So when you say what's been going on since last week, I'm not going to beat the dead horse. It's like, yeah, okay, job, this, work, that, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, well, what's different? And I think it's something that I know it's something that you have a lot to contribute to in the conversation, but I think it's going to benefit a lot of dog trainers and owners out there. I put a post up on Facebook the other day about getting blood work done. Because since last time I talked to you, I got some results back from some blood work I had done.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I can, I'll say this last week, there's been a lot of deep contemplation on health and well-being going on in this house. And that's why I had put a post up like, hey folks, what are you doing? If you haven't had your blood work done, go get it done. Here's a link. Like it's $150. Actually,
Yeah.
it's less than that. The one I got, because I wanted like hormone panels done and stuff. It was more. But just to get like basic blood work done, even if you have no insurance, you can get that stuff done online. Order it, they'll send you to Quest or LabCorp for like $60.
Yeah.
Like that's cheap. If you can't afford that, you got bigger problems in your health. And like you got to get that stuff done, because I finally went and got it done because I wasn't feeling right. And it was interesting because the numbers I was interested in looking at weren't as bad as I thought they were going to be. And then numbers that I had no concern about were not good.
Like,
And it was like, what the have I been doing? So I found out like I got really high blood sugar and need to go back for more testing, because I did go in the morning, and your blood sugar typically is higher in the morning. But of course, I've been down the YouTube and Google rabbit holes and called up some medical professionals who I know and trust. And it kind of goes along with some of my symptoms and things that have been happening. It's like I've been screwing up, dude. Like that's on me. Like that's 100% on me. I've been screwing up in terms of like lack of balance in my life, and I haven't been moving as much as I'm supposed to move. I haven't been as active. I've been neglecting, just saying screw it and eating this and eating that. And, you know, dude, it catches up with you.
yeah, man. I went through that. I mean, last year and part of the year before. As you know, like I write things pretty hard, and
Mhm.
like I'm probably the last person. Like I'm very much the duct tape it and see what happens type of a guy. Type of guy. Like, oh, this hurts. Okay, like whatever. We'll take some ibuprofen. There's a hole in my arm or whatever. Duct tape it. We got it. Glue it. Like we're good to go. And up until I got hospitalized, it's almost been 2 years now. I started taking like health way more what do you call it serious, because at certain points you realize, like, at least for me, like, damn, you're sitting in a hospital bed, like, okay, at that point I think I was like 36 or maybe 37, and I was like 37. I'm like, yeah, I should probably start looking at some of my practices and some of what I've been doing. Like, that's when I switched out. Like, I tried to do the whole like vegan, vegetarian diet. That's when we first started talking, but I didn't know that, like, at that point, the lack of research on my point, like, I didn't know that you actually have to cook that food, like, to be like, to do the actual diet. Like, you can't use like that processed meat, like that Beyond Meat, all that stuff is like super horrible for you. Apparently, like, you're better off
Hmm.
eating McDonald's or something like that. So, like, learning how to like cook the actual food and like how to balance it properly, which is, I'm not, I'm kind of like a meat and vegetables type of guy, when I eat food, like healthy food. So learn those things. So I switched that off and started working on different dietary things, and kind of, you go through the ups, the downs, and the ups and downs in business, and that affected me drastically a lot in my diet and like how I live my life and everything like that. So within the last few months, I've switched up a lot of things again from being injured and going through things I went through last year. And talking to doctors, and actually, this is one thing, like, I'll tell you this: if you, at bare minimum, if you're an entrepreneur, and let's just specifically go into the dog training world, right? In the dog training world, where you're constantly 24/7, it's a 7 day a week job. If you can't afford, or get some type of health insurance, make sure you're at least going in for some checkups. I mean, because like you, like, I found out I had like stage 2 hypertension, like heart,
Hmm.
like high blood pressure, and this is with even being active and all the other things that are running all these miles. And like now, like, I'm doing the proper things, like I have the proper diet, certain lifestyle, so I'm back to like normal. But up in like a month and a half ago, yeah, about no 2 months ago, because I've been eating really clean for the last month and a half, and like doing all those things, like I was at stage 2 hypertension. Like, when I went to the hospital for my shoulder, I went to go get everything checked out, the doctor had to like do it twice, put me in a different room. They thought like maybe it was environmental, and then the doctor was like, "Man, he's like, your high blood pressure, like your blood pressure is like up pretty
See, I
high."
haven't gotten that checked. I haven't done that in a while, and I know that's on the list. Like,
Oh yeah,
did
man.
the blood work. Now I got to make an appointment to go in to see a doctor because I there's other things going on too that are all like it's all lumped in. It's like when it rains, it pours.
Yep.
But I haven't like so you mentioned the blood pressure, and I already know like that's gonna be interesting when I get that checked.
Dude, I think it's scary because, like, well, what got me was just talking to the doctors about it, is that it's something like, I mean, obviously we get accustomed to like a certain level of stress, right? The more you do it, the more you're just getting used to it. Like, it just
Yeah.
becomes normal daily life. And then you don't know about it until it's almost too late. Like, the doctor even saying, is like, dude, like, you can get a stroke, you can have a heart attack. Those are all life altering things. And you can be completely normal or normal to you. And next, these things happen, and then kaboom, like, then you have an issue. So, like, luckily, catching it, and like you said, doing, talking to people, like making sure that you are doing the proper stuff to take care of your health. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, then
Yep.
what do we actually have? Money doesn't mean anything if you're like, if you're screwed. Your
Yep.
business is gonna go. Like, so taking care of that stuff, and yeah, it's definitely an important thing to kind of have that self realization, even if you are like, not my age or Katie's age, definitely set it up properly.
Well, that's so the younger you are, like the more important this is because it's about habitualizing things, right? So it's about forming good habits.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, it's, let me just say this. So I'll be 45 in June, right? I think 45. Yeah, I think so. Like
Ooh.
it's crazy how once you hit a certain point, like those numbers, like I forget sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to rewire a lot of shit internally, both physiologically and psychologically. Rewire. I mean, completely redo things about myself I don't like, things I want to improve on, things, areas future strengths, and then things I want to eliminate. And that's, I think we all should be doing that to some extent, right? Every
Yeah,
day,
absolutely.
how can I wake up tomorrow better than I was the day before? Um, so it's, it's a lot harder to build some of these habits now than if you try to build them in your 20s. Like, get started early with stuff
Yep.
because like changing habits. So another big change I have to make outside of addressing insulin resistance is, have you ever heard of GERD? You know what GERD is?
No, I don't think so.
Gastroesophageal reflux disease. So
Okay.
basically, the door at the bottom of my esophagus, there's a little flap, right? In between your stomach and your esophagus.
Yeah.
Mine doesn't work right anymore.
Dang.
So when I lay down, I get heartburn and
Uh,
my stomach contents go into my esophagus.
oh,
And it's interesting because every little thing I'm dealing with right now, and I got a bunch of things all at once, it just kind of hit me. Um, it's interesting because it's all stuff my dad was the first phone call, because literally everything that's happening to me, there must be some hereditary influence, because like my dad went through the exact same thing. He had what's called Barrett's esophagus, which is a precursor to cancer. It's where your
oh,
esophagus is damaged from stomach acid, because your esophagus is not supposed to be exposed to stomach acid.
damn.
Only your stomach is supposed to be exposed to stomach acid, right? So when you get heartburn a lot, it takes off the lining of your esophagus, which creates a precancerous situation. If it keeps being exposed, you will get esophageal cancer. So
Yeah.
the outside of it being obnoxious and annoying, for like the past 3 weeks, man, like I have not had a full night's sleep. So I'm starting to also learn a lot about sleep deprivation, because typically, dude, I don't have sleep problems. I have insomnia only when I have like a lot of really stressful things going on, which I think is pretty normal. If you got, things going on, your mind is racing.
Yeah.
That is it, dude. I don't have problems falling asleep. I don't, I hear people complain a lot about, oh, I wake up and I can't get back to sleep. Dude, that doesn't happen to me. Like I usually sleep, for me, like 7 to 8. 8 is a lot. Like I'm one of the people who, if I go to bed at 3 in the morning, I'm not going to sleep till 10. I will wake up between 5 and 7 no matter what's going on. No matter what time I went to bed, it doesn't matter. I'm waking up between that window. So I have to make sure that I have a proper bedtime. As crazy as that sounds for an adult. Like, no, I have to have a bedtime. Well, when I go to bed at the right time and I don't have like insane crazy shit going on, like I look forward to sleep, dude. Like I lay down and it's like I have a most comfortable bed, the most comfortable pillow, and it's a good time. I might wake up for like 2 times for a couple seconds to take a sip of water that I keep next to my bed, and I go right back to sleep. I'm a vivid dreamer, always have been. And it's like I wake up in the morning and I'm good to go. Dude, for the past 3 weeks,
Been getting you.
dude, I don't sleep at night. I take naps.
Right.
It's a series of 45-minute to an hour and a half long naps. So I'm not getting any deep sleep.
No RAM.
Like, well, I get REM, but not deep. So deep
Yeah.
is low wave. That happens outside of REM. REM is where you're super active, your brain is firing off, your eyes are moving around. Deep sleep is where the growth hormone is released. Deep sleep is where the regenerative process is taking place in your tissues. Deep sleep is the one you really need. And I'm not getting much of it. So it's been interesting waking up after being in bed for 9, sometimes 10 hours and feeling exhausted because I got no deep sleep. Because every time I wake up, it's like acid burning. I have to stand up or sit up. I've been trying to sleep in a reclining chair, prop my neck up because so gravity can keep like the
Yeah.
stomach acid down. Dude, it's like, I talked to my dad. He's like, yeah, you're overweight. You know that, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm aware I'm overweight, Dad. Like, I'm aware of that. He's like, yeah, it probably has to do with the insulin resistance and your high blood sugar. You know that? And I'm like, yeah, Dad. Like, I get the related. He goes, that probably has to do with the fact. When was the last time you walked? When was the last time you worked out? Oh yeah,
And
Pop. Like, he's like, damn, you don't need a doctor. Why don't you just pay me? I'll tell you what to freaking do. And I'm like, yeah. But
dad had to go in.
oh, he did. He did. And on the conversation clearly was much longer than that.
Yeah.
And he had a lot more to say than that. My dad's awesome. He's like my greatest supporter. So um it's it's dude, it's been a lot. And it's
Yeah.
forced me to think, because everything I just said, for the most part, I can control. Like now I can't control the fact that my stomach trap door is broken, but what I have to do, because I asked him, like, what'd you do? He's like, well, you really can't eat within 3 to 4 hours of bedtime. And I'm like, so when am I supposed to eat? He goes, have a good breakfast and a big lunch. I'm like, I hate breakfast and I hate lunch. I don't like going through my day with food in my stomach. I am an intermittent faster just by nature, not by, I read a blog article. Like, I don't like eating through the day. I like getting all my stuff done. And then I like having one really big or two really big meals towards the end of the day. And that helps me relax and be done. That's a personal preference.
They
I
gotta
have to,
swap it out.
I have to completely swap it out, Mike. So we talk about
Yeah,
habits, right? We were talking about, lifestyle and habits and form. Like I have a habit of eating at the end of the day that now my body physiologically is saying, if you keep doing this, you're going to have some big problems, like really big life-changing problems. If you don't stop doing that.
yeah.
I'm like, I'm hoping if I lose some of the weight, because all my weight is in one place, all of it. I got typical middle-aged man fat, like all right around the belly button in the
The dad
backside.
bod.
Oh, dude, like I could put a tank top on and lift and I'll get veins in my traps and veins in my arms. And if I suck my gut
Yeah.
in, you'd be like, what do you mean you're overweight? You're actually really lean. And then I lift my shirt up and it's like blah, 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 blah.
It's funny. You're talking about like the sleep thing, and like I have a really typically I have like a really bad problem with like sleep, or at least like not acknowledging when I need to go to sleep type of a thing. And I'll just because my body just wakes up in the morning like usually like the first time is like 3:30, and then it's like between 3:30 and 5:30. Like I got to be up. But I started getting into like really tracking like my data, like my physical data, like my output. And then I always look at like the output, but I never really looked at the analytics when it came to like sleep until Erin, she got me this thing called a Whoop. It's a WHOOP.
I
It's like
heard of
this
that.
little, so it's like it's this thing. It's like a little tracker thing, but it goes to app on your phone, and it really, and no, we're not sponsored by them at all or anything like that. So it's not a plug on anything, but it's the thing that I like about it is that one, it tracks like your heart rate. Obviously I had that, but I have a Fitbit for that too. Heart rate, consistent heart rate throughout the day. You never have to take it off. There's like this little portable charger. You just put it on there, and you can kind of live your life with it, shower with it, do whatever you want, except for jujitsu. That doesn't work during that time, but you can kind of do all these things with it, and it tracks your sleep. It tells you, because the one thing I never really took in consideration is sleep is accumulative. Like you have,
Mhm.
like if you don't sleep one day, like you have to get that recovery, because it tracks your recovery rate to your sleep rate, all the different cycles of sleep. So it'll tell me like the days where I'm, because some days like this last month or so I've been running 100 miles plus a week. And some days where I've been putting, like Tuesdays, for example, I'll put in like 16 miles, and I'll go do bite night, work a bunch of dogs, do all these other, whatever stuff. And like the whoop will tell you like, all right, you need to be in bed by 9 o'clock, and you should be embedded for like 10 hours or sleeping for 10 hours. And they'll tell you like which like, whatever your cycle looks like of sleep. And it'll actually show you your recovery rate and give you like this whole sleep coach to tell you like, okay, like what this did for you, and what your output look like in comparison. So it actually has like a pretty detailed like breakdown of everything. And like that for me, looking at like the statistics of it, I was like, okay, like I need to focus more on sleep. So now what I've adjusted in the last month or so is like my sleep schedule. So now that I know I'm waking up earlier and I know what my output looks like, it helped me readjust my schedule now to where like now I know I need to be like, I need to stop answering phone calls by this time. I need to stop text messaging around this time. I need to put like my phone away around this time.
What
So like
are those times, Mike? I want to know. I'm curious.
it's like 8 o'clock. I got to put everything away.
Hmm.
8 o'clock, it's got to go away so I can be asleep by 10. Because if I don't put like my notebooks away, or I don't put my phone away, like I don't at least put it on silent. At least when my daughter's not here. When my daughter's here, I always gonna have my stuff on, in case she needs to like she wakes up and needs to get a hold of me or something like that. Because she'll usually hit me on her iPad because she doesn't want to walk downstairs, because she's afraid of the spiders that come with living in the woods. But usually, like I'll put everything on silent and put it away. That way, I don't get distracted or get an idea, and then I start hitting up the team. Then I roll until like midnight, and I got to be up in like 3.5 hours. But that stuff has actually helped me out a lot, as far as tracking everything. and kind of being prepared and knowing like, okay, this is how much I should sleep in today, and how what time I need to go to sleep by today, and kind of figuring those things out. And it's put a lot into place when it comes to like recovery as well. Like I use like my red light stuff way more. I'm starting to do more of the sauna stuff, and just kind of balancing out specific things. And I've noticed just since I've been on top of it, on top of it in the last, couple of months, month and a half, just huge differences in like health, health, physical health, and just mental health as well. Just, the clarity that it's brought. So I'm pretty excited about that little system that I have going on now. And also
Have you
talking to doctors. So that helps. I go to the doctor tomorrow, get an MRI.
have you ever heard of the Aura Ring?
Yeah, I've seen it online, like the on Instagram ads.
I'm just trying to learn the difference because I've done some research in the past on different thing, right? These tools. So you mentioned some tools, right?
Yeah.
The whoop. I'm familiar with that. Who I heard about that from was Lucas Lucier out at Shogun Working Dogs out in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He introduced me that he's an avid dude, kid is strong as heck. Like watching his powerlifting videos is like watching him squat is stupid. Like I don't even want to. It's not right. His thighs are like my waist. But he had told me about the whoop. I wear a Garmin Instinct, and I mostly got this because it has a GPS function, and I use it when I'm riding my dirt bike to
Oh
track
yeah.
my. I can find like it maps out when I'm done riding because I do trail riding, and it shows where I went, and it shows top speed, average speed, slowest speed, which is all like really important for what I'm doing. It also tracks heart rate, and it does some sleep, but they say in the scheme of sleep tracking devices, it's subpar.
Uh,
They say that the different one article I read was like, listen, these tools are not all created equal. And that's why many people have multiple tools because there are some that excel really. Like I love the Garmin Instinct for my dirt bike stuff. Like love it. Have no desire for a different tool. Like I'm
yeah.
good. Um, but it's leaves a lot of room for leaves a lot to be desired in terms of sleep tracking. And I've heard that the Aura Ring is like you don't want to really use it for movement, you don't want to use it for your steps, but they say it's really good at sleep tracking. So if anyone's listening to this, anyone who listening to this episode has experience with the Aura Ring, like get down if you're on YouTube, post it in the comments or wherever, whatever format you're on, post some experience in the comments or message us because I know I want to know. I mean, I have no problem with throwing that thing on as you know
Yeah. No,
to just
definitely, Matt.
to learn more about sleep.
I would say just in general, if you guys are using certain tools that you guys like, you guys are currently using, you have any
Tell us about
comments
it
about it, yeah, let us know. I mean, we are always in search of something better, essentially, to help benefit, our health and everything like that. So if you have anything that you can share with us, let us know. Drop a comment, send a message, then we can try it out and
because I
see
will
how
jump
well it works.
online and I am that's a whole nother thing though. Like I have an Amazon problem.
Yeah, same.
I don't even think, to call it an Amazon problem is an understatement because like 10, 20 minutes ago, I got a text from, have you ever heard of Built? Again, and folks, like nothing we are mentioning clearly are sponsors. This is all unsolicited endorsements. Now, if these companies want to get the ball and going, they can hit us up and we'll give them some real props. But have you ever heard of Built Bar?
No,
Bult?
I don't believe so.
Oof, I might have just ruined your life
Oh no.
or drained your bank account.
Oh
Like,
great.
oh my goodness. It is the best tasting bar I've ever had. They have two different kinds. They have like one that's the Built Bar, the basic one,
Yeah,
which is like a nougaty. It's almost like a Charleston chew. And then they have the Built Bar Puff line, which is like a mallow cup. It's like marshmallowy. The flavors they have are so good that sometimes when they release a flavor, it's sold out in less than 12 hours.
damn.
And so I'm signed up now and I get like notifications when new flavors come out. Well, what are they? It's not like a meal replacement bar. And I don't even like calling it a protein bar because the protein isn't like absurdly high. I think the protein's like 17 grams, which is still a lot for a snack.
Yeah.
But I don't eat it like a protein bar. Like it's not a protein supplement for me. It's a when you want something bad, eat this instead because
Okay.
the sugar alcohol is really, it's usually mostly sugar alcohols. It's really low. I mean, are they good for you? Probably not, but they're not like eating a candy bar. And I'll take 17 grams of protein and less than 10 carbs net as a snack. That tastes amazing. So I just got a notification that they got a new flavor out. So I dropped like $100 on that because they're like 20 bucks a box. So I bought like three
Yeah.
boxes. Like I'll buy a bunch of boxes. Um, it's funny because we're talking about Amazon. I'm sitting here fiddling with like I've become obsessed with these combs.
Is that the little finger ones that the cholos used to wear? The little pocket combs?
Dude.
There, there you go.
Like
I grew
this
up with those things when I was like,
I've never
that time.
seen one. I just randomly saw one not too long ago when I went down another Amazon rabbit hole for like I wanted my shower set up.
Yeah.
I wanted my hygiene set up to be like not fancy, but I wanted like to up it a notch. Like
Yeah.
the station inside the shower wall, like upgrading to better soaps and like trying to take care of my skin better and getting a different I found this new razor too that's just I'm in love with it. It's called the Henson, Henson. Henson. Like it's an old fashioned safety razor. Like awesome. So I was looking for different like grooming things for the shower, and that's when I found that comb, right? And I was like, all right, let me check this out. And I was like, oh, this doesn't really, wouldn't use this in the shower. It doesn't like get a lather, but I was like, oh, but it's like really good for brushing your hair. So then I bought
Yeah.
a bunch of these, and then I found it's funny that it's interesting. This is not planned, by the way. They're not sitting here for this show. They're sitting here because I'm fidgeting with them. And then I found like a shorter one that came in like a 6-pack. So I got like one of these in the Harley and in the console. I got like
Yep.
one in the car. Um, dude, it's like there's so many Amazon boxes in my trash
Yep.
on a weekly basis. It's wild how much stuff I just bought, like curtains, right? I wanted to do curtains for my sliding glass doors. It's like I'll do it on Amazon. It's like, oh, this is cool. Like these are metal toothpicks. I think I'll buy those. And it's like,
Yep. They get you. Then Amazon, Aaron and I joke around about that all the time because, she went through, she's like, she's big into like, you know, very like nice freaking like cleaning stuff, like things that are like, there's no added like
yeah.
crazy like not like whatever, like stuff in it that's poisonous. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything's like super organic, super like essentially the healthiest things for you when it comes
Yep.
to like all of our hygiene and what we clean our house with. So we have like subscriptions to Amazon. So by the trash days on Monday. So by the time trash day comes, we load up the UTV and take it down to the trash. Because well, you've been in the house, like how far that stuff is. That back of that UTV is filled with Amazon boxes. Like it's always every week. Like there's at least 5 or 6 of them in that thing, and a lot of it is the subscription based stuff that we have for like the cleaning supplies and the skincare and hair care products that we order on there. But yeah, that Amazon, man, that'll get you.
I keep a
So
box cutter by the front door now, and not for personal safety. I mean, I got a 9mm for that, but like it's the most used box cutter or cutting device in the house because
the
every
that
day
blade is dull.
it's one of the disposable ones, man, because I'm constantly clicking off things, like taking the tips of the blade off because I go through. I'm breaking down boxes all the time. Um, and I just found like a bunch of new sneakers I wanted, and like, oh, these are for like walking distances. Oh, these are for walking when it's wet out. Oh, these are for when I'm working out. And
Yep. Aaron gets
oh,
on me about that all the time. I actually have new shoes coming in today for running, and that's they're coming in. Aaron's like, what are we gonna do with the rest of your shoes? 'Cause I essentially have like a walking closet full of shoes because the same thing. I go through that rabbit hole when I was like, all right, well, these are the shoes I'm gonna lift with. These are the shoes I'm gonna decoy in. These are the shoes that normal walking around shoes. when I'm at, the shop or whatever. These are the fancier shoes, like, when we don't have to be covered in dog crap. And then here's like the running shoes. And then she's like, well, and I'm like, well, I need a couple pairs of those, right? Like, if you each have them. And then next thing you know, I got a closet full of shoes that are still in boxes that I don't haven't worn yet. But so yeah,
Mhm.
I guess I'm fully deserving of getting shit talked to me about that from my fiance.
All right. So something else you said, because this conversation is just like taking its own life. Um, it's just going out there. And you said something that now I'm going to take us in a totally different direction. All right, because it's a sincere freaking question I have for you. Like, this is most of our conversations now. We're so busy, they take place here for the public
Exactly.
audience. Dude, why do you run so much? This is like a real question. Like, why do you run so much? Because I'm anti-running, but we'll get to that after you tell me why you run so much.
It's more of a mental thing for me.
Okay.
It's like I enjoy the physical benefits that I get from it. Like I have, I don't ever have to worry about cardio like in anything that I do. Like yesterday, I ran 11 miles with a 40-pound vest, and then I ran 3 miles after jiu-jitsu with some lifting when my daughter was like finishing some homework. But like even when I rolled with like Leo, like roll with a high level black belt every Monday, and like I don't feel like I'm gassed by the end of it. And we roll pretty hard. We do 6 6 minute rounds, and I feel I feel relatively good. I can work a bunch of dogs. I feel good. After that, my recovery is great. I run for like my heart, my health in general, but I enjoy the mental aspect of it. Like because it starts to suck. Like it's not fun. Like there's no real breaks in it. And I try to make things as hard as I can. So I even do like Tabata, like 2 Tabata rounds, which is
Yep.
8 20-second cycles with 10 seconds off per mile. So I'll do that. And then depending on how long I do, I can go through it. But I mean, it's more about pushing past like the discomfort, pushing past like I want to stop, because if I know if I can push myself to run 100 miles or 14 miles a day, whenever you break it down, to do those things, and I know like I can physically push myself past that, then to me it just gives me a mental advantage on myself. Because now I'm like, okay, cool, like I can still do this, even though it hurts. Like I can still continuously do that. Like I can still, push further, push further, push further. And then once I know, like I can constantly always test my boundaries. And then, for me, it just gives me that, like, okay, this is possible. I can handle the pain. I can handle the discomfort. That everything else is gonna be easy. And like that's a lot of times why I usually wake up early as hell in the morning and then do something that severely sucks. Like, it like especially when you're sore from the next day or whatever like that. Then I'm like, all right, cool. Like this is gonna the rest of the day is gonna be a cakewalk. I already it's 8 a.m. or sometimes 7 a.m. I already done half a marathon and then lifted a bunch of weights after and let my dogs out. Like everything else is easy from that point on. But a majority of it is for me. It's more of that mental health, and then I can fight myself running for 2 hours, hour and a half, however long it takes me to do it. And that's the hardest fight I'm going to deal with every day. So might as well get it out of the way first.
Mhm.
That's where I take my wins. That's my big win in the morning, and the rest of the day is just easy.
Makes sense.
But that's
Makes
why I
sense.
run so much. That's
Yeah. Because like I know because I see your on your social media stories and I see the posts of like the sweat piles and like, man, this dude does a lot of running. And I'd have always wanted to ask you, and it's never come up, but obviously this episode has a theme of health and fitness and addictive shopping behavior. So I was like, ooh, I need to ask Mike why he runs so much.
Yeah, I
Now
get that
I'm
question a lot. Like I get that question a lot, and I've got some like like some physical like some people who are like in like the physical fitness world, and they're like, well, like you don't got to run that way to lose weight, or do this to lose weight. I just kind of like chuckle. I was like, I don't really do this to lose weight or like anything
no,
like that.
it's mental. It's mental.
Yeah, I do this to like calm down the monster a little bit,
Yep.
like take the edge
Yep.
off.
Yep. Now, like me, which I haven't been admittedly lately, which is what the whole first part of this conversation was and how I've screwed up and dropped the ball. I'm a big walker. I actually enjoy walking. And it's a little it's bittersweet for me. It's like another reason why I'm just really sick of living in Florida and need to do something about that because like there's just nowhere fun to walk. So for me, yeah, it's mostly in a neighborhood right now. And I enjoy even that. Like I put my headphones on, I grab a dog and go bust out 6 miles and maybe add a weight vest on. If I'm doing it when I'm doing it regularly, like every day, getting between 4 to 6 miles, which there was a period of time where I was doing that. And of course I felt a lot better than I do now. Maybe 2 days a week, I'd throw a ruck on, a pack with some weights. And I throw my headphones on. I have like certain types of music I only listen to when I'm walking. And that's it, man. Like I'm out there. I'm zened out completely.
Yeah.
Whatever dog is with me is just doing their thing. It like this ties into, I think we were talking about this on last episode about hot dogs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like I'll be out there in June. I won't do it maybe necessarily at 3 or 4 o'clock. But like my dogs can handle being out and exercising moderately in hot weather because they
Yeah.
do it all the time. They're fine. I do it with them, and when I would do summertime stuff, that's where I would try to get more in the woods or something because it's easier on their pads.
Yeah.
But like it's why I also want to move to Georgia or like northern Alabama so I can do these walks and there's elevation.
Probably a lot more hiking trails out there too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Like people will say like there's hiking for those watching this on YouTube. I'm doing air quotes if you can't see me. Hiking in Florida. I can't call it hiking, man, because like I've been hiking in the Appalachians. I grew up hiking in the Adirondack mountain range. Like Florida, you don't go for hikes, man. You go for walks in the swamp, or you go for, northern Florida. You can actually get some woods. There's some woods actually near me that I've gone to, but it's like it's all flat. It's all, if it rained, it's wet and stinky. Like there's no like, let's go hike up this hill and overlook the valley, or let's do this mountain, even a small mountain, like Appalachians aren't tall. They're not known for being like incredibly high, but like you can get up to some cool spots and at least like see the valley. And like that type of walking, it's so good for your body. And at that point, never mind your brain. I mean, you're just in nature. It's cool. But like running for me, no, no, like never was a thing, never will be a thing. I do want to get the have you seen the Hydro by Peloton?
oh, is that the row?
It's their rower, right? All
Yeah.
fancied out. Like I'm intrigued by rowing.
Dude,
I'm
that sounds
not,
fun.
it looks like the gamification involved, like making it competitive and you can like game against other people online. Like
Oh, dang.
you put something competition based out there for me, like, oh, okay, let's get after it. Like that looks like a fun way to exercise.
I didn't know that there was like a game. So I have like downstairs, like I have like a assault bike, I have a rower, and then I have the assault runner I do. But one of our clients, Luke, shout out to Luke and Riker, he sold me like this like really like badass like rower. So I incorporate that into like my daily workouts, and like that thing is really, I mean, like I really like thoroughly enjoy it. It doesn't have any of that cool like because it's an older one, like so it doesn't have any like the cool like gaming aspect of it, but like just the exercise alone, it's pretty cool to get a nice little sweat on that thing, and feel like dying after about 30 minutes. I try to do like longer distances with it, but yeah, if you're not accustomed to rowing long distances or long time frame, you get pretty tired pretty quickly.
Well, it's a whole body workout, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
uses everything.
That thing is pretty awesome. I usually run like a little cycle between that and some like hit workouts between the assault bike and then that one, just for timing, like just like sprinting like 5K as fast as you can on both, and then it put some like weights in between it, and then didn't feel like throwing up. So I kind of throw those in if I'm feeling a little spicy that day.
Man, dude, the greatest part of this entire conversation is the fact that listening to what you do on the regular and thinking about how much I haven't been doing, it's like I got some real motivation here. Like, okay, now there's no secret why you got some health issues, KD. Like this, like, he's sharing his just screw around workout, and I'm realizing just how out of balance I got with that physical end of things, which I have no problem, you know, jumping on the sword there. It's important for me to share that type of stuff publicly because I want everyone to know that, like, so when I am helping them and I'm looking at their life with some of the trainers I work with, like, we talk about stuff like this. I share
Yeah.
this with them. Like, listen, I made a mistake. Here's what I'm experiencing because of this mistake. This is how I know what you're about to do. I see that landmine you're about to step on, or the one you stepped on before and didn't realize it. Like, how do I know? It's not because I'm smart. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has to do with the fact that I've screwed up and I still make mistakes. I just happen to be fairly aware of them, and I'm very honest with myself, let alone with others about it. So, hey, maybe we can help somebody. Maybe someone's going to watch this episode today and go get a blood test this week, or
Yeah.
they're going to look at their in the mirror and they're going to say, "Dang, I've been slacking too. Let me step it up and go for a walk or go for a, who knows what
Yeah.
these conversations will do for someone. Or maybe someone's going to log on to Amazon and buy a bunch of these stupid combs, and then we can do a review on it. I don't freaking know,
I'm
dude.
surprised they don't sell those packaged with like a pomade, because that was like the thing back in the day. Like usually pomade, and then like, go. I used to have a bunch of those things, man. Like my grandpa was super into them, so like it was always like pomade and like whatever it is.
Yeah.
Suavecito, that's your idea, guys. Go ahead and pack it up.
Dude, I actually have a thing of Suavecito. And
same, same, even though I got no hair.
oh,
But
not sponsored by Suavecito, but this episode was brought to you by the fine folks at Ray Allen Manufacturing. Another shout out to our sponsor there as we bring this episode to a close.
And one thing before we wrap this one up, I want to say, like, you brought up a good point. And this is the reason why you and I are very transparent in the way we communicate to the public and what we put online. Like, same thing, like why I post the stuff that I post is like, I've gone through, and we, as you and I talked about, I've gone through some very like some severe health issues and some real lows and stuff where my health has taken a decline, but it's because of the actions I've been taking. So that's why we share these things with you. It's essentially cheat codes because, like KD said, like you might be walking onto a landmine and listening to certain things that we've already experienced because we've already jumped on that landmine, very elbow dropped on it. In some cases, right? Like
Yep.
intentionally, we know these things because we've experienced these things. It's not because we're trying to say like we're smarter or better. That's just we've already experienced these things. So listening to things like this, for me that helps when I talk to certain people or I hear certain podcasts and people talk about that it's not necessarily like hearing about the glory and the good stuff and the wins that happen. Like that's not I don't learn much from that, but I do learn from people being transparent about the faults that they've had in life and the things that they've gone through. So like, hey, maybe I should navigate this a little bit differently. So that's what that's the beauty in conversations like the one we had today or having today.
Mhm.
So for these, even if you're not a young dog trainer and you're an older dog trainer, you've been in the game for a while, there's always things to learn and maybe switch up and maybe get some blood get some blood work done, consult with a doctor, reevaluate your own physical, fitness
Go
and
for a
health and what you're
walk,
doing.
go
Go,
for a jog, do
yeah,
something.
get a little active out there.
Yep.
But yeah, man. As always, Katie, a pleasure talking to you. I'm
Likewise,
looking
sir.
I'm looking forward to see what you've implemented next week when we talk again. And then but yeah, guys, make
Oh,
sure
I
you
got a
check
bomb
out.
to drop next week.
Uh-oh.
It didn't
If it
work
starts
into.
with if it starts with I made a Facebook post, it's gonna be a juicy one.
I haven't made a Facebook post about this yet, but it's another change that we'll talk about. I mean, this one thing could be an entire conversation.
Ooh.
We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. A little
So make sure you
foreshadowing.
guys tune into this one, guys.
Yeah, they
Uh,
should. Everyone should be subscribing to all the channels.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys are on all the major podcast networks, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, RSS. I believe there's another one and a few other ones we have going on.
YouTube.
If you're on the YouTube, make sure you got the YouTube. I'm just dating myself by saying that, like saying the Instagram or the Facebook. if you're on YouTube, make sure you guys like, comment, share it with your friends. And again, guys, it's always a pleasure doing these things with KD. Make sure you check out rayallen.com. Use the Primal 10 code for all your discounts. And yeah, until next time, brother.
Good talking to you.